Hey everybody, my name is Michael. I'm here with Justin, and we're just going to be chatting about short-term rentals. We've been managing short-term rentals for over 3 years and are in three different markets. And we are going to dive into Florida and the different short-term rental markets we are in down there in South Florida.
Cool. Jumping right into it. Markets nobody's talking about. South Florida markets you need to be in. Deerfield and Pompano. What are we thinking? What are we thinking about Deerfield? I mean, we're already in Deerfield Beach in the market, and I mean, we see it kind of booming. I want to say.
Yeah,
What are
it's
your
a
thoughts
really
on that?
good market. We see that it doesn't have that much listing growth, but the revenue has been really well sustained. And like AirDNA, for example, gives it a 94 out of 100, which anybody that's in the short-term rental space knows that anything above an 85 from AirDNA is an easy, like, all right, this is a market we should explore. What we really like about this market is the revenue per listing is as high, and it's sustained over the last year. We see that it's decreased -4%. That is only because there's been a plus 17% listing increase over the last year. So that shows that even though there is a bigger increase in supply, the annual revenue is still being sustained for most of the properties. So that shows that there's still if we see it net, there's a 13% growth in this market. We really love this market because we're seeing a lot of regulation happening more south. So the more north we go, we see just a little less regulation. We're not dealing with as many processes and things that we have to deal with some of the other cities. What do you think about this one, Justin?
Yeah, I agree with you on that. As we go a little more north, not too north, because you reach up to Boca and Del Rey, the regulations are a little, iffy. I mean, Boca banned short-term rentals completely. I mean, there's people still operating, but we were chatting about how Boca and the regulations over there, they completely banned Airbnb, Del Rey as well. They have strict regulations over there, so not too far up north, but Deerfield, like we were just saying, underrated market to be in. At least we think so,
Yeah.
Me and you operating there, we're seeing growth. We're still going to be operating there. We love it. We love it.
Yeah, we're seeing growth. There's still not that many listings per in the market related to other markets there in South Florida. So there's definitely a lot of growth that can still be had. Yeah.
And yeah, we were running comps earlier today, and we found this Lux Villa in Deerfield. What was the revenue projections for them last month or this year? I think they almost hit 200K, no?
Yeah. So the top two properties that we found there in Deerfield were making around 200 to 215,000, around that range, and really producing some really good numbers. Most of them are those two were like 6 and 5 bedrooms. And then going into that is like the main amenities that we saw from this market that we know based off this and just other comps that we ran ourselves is having a pool is something key for South Florida. Anybody that has a pool is making more money. And then being waterfront is another key thing that allows these properties to really get great photos and just be able to have unique properties that there's only so many waterfront properties that it can be had. So those two amenities are the ones that, in my opinion, they're like the number ones. If you want to add something to that, Justin.
Yeah, I mean, I agree with you. The comps don't lie. The revenue projection doesn't lie. Waterfront properties, pools with the water amenities, whether it be a jacuzzi, a pool. I mean, those things are up there, especially in a market like Deerfield.
Yeah.
I mean, I've toured the entire area before we got to the market, and I mean, it's a beautiful area. Very close by, I mean, Deerfield, the city, but by Hillsborough and the Cove Plaza, Deerfield. Those places are beautiful. They have tons of restaurants, small little bars. You have the beach access right over the bridge. It's beautiful. Underrated market, 100%.
Yeah, and also I feel like Deerfield, for anybody like a lot of families and stuff that are traveling and just want to nice Florida experience, but nothing too crazy. Deerfield is like key. Much more chill beach, nothing like, South Miami, like the rowdiness we get down there. And what I also really like is the restaurants and stuff they have set up there on the beach. There's one called Las Olas, if I'm not mistaken. It's like a really nice little seafood spot that I
Yeah.
fucking that I really love. Bleep,
He loves it. He loves it.
bleep.
Yeah.
But no, really good market. The next market that we're gonna dive into that we think is a market to look into, market to be in South Florida is Pompano Beach. What we think about this market is that it does have 3 times as many listings as Deerfield Beach, but being that it still has an increase in revenue per listing year after year, it shows that even though there's plenty of listings in Pompano Beach, there's more people that are traveling to that area every year. Even though there's what was it? We saw a 26% increase in available listings. That's insane on competition. We like to focus on those bigger properties, 3+ bedrooms. They usually have less competition. We should dive into the 3+ bedrooms as well. Something for another for another episode. But what's your thoughts on Pompano Beach?
Yeah, Pompano Beach. I mean, from what we've seen, great market to be in. It's growing exponentially. It seems like every year the revenue gets better and better. On the little performance market scale, it's rated 89. Great, great market. We're us ourselves, state is about to most likely get a property in Pompano. We'll see. We'll see. We're working on
Yeah,
it.
working on some deals there. So hopefully
Yeah.
closes something soon. Um, and comparing Deerfield to Pompano Beach, what's your thoughts? Do you have a favorite? Do you like one more than the other?
Us being in Deerfield, I feel Deerfield has grown on me a little bit. You know, it's nice. It's going back to what you said earlier. It's a nice little getaway, family oriented. It's not crazy. It's not rowdy. You don't get that rowdiness like you get. You don't get that craziness that South Miami has or South Florida has. Not trying to shit on it or anything like that, but I mean, you want a nice little getaway.
For
Yeah,
different occasions. The
yeah.
rowdiness is fun at times, yeah.
When you want that peace and you want like
Yeah. Yeah,
that
and
family.
like looking back at like seeing like it from an investor perspective, I think both are great. But just because there's so much more listings in Pompano Beach, it is easier to differentiate yourself and create a unique listing in Deerfield than in Pompano. What we see in Pompano, similar to Deerfield Beach, is that the top comps are in that 200 to $300,000 range. So Pompano does have some top comps that, like the top properties that are making excess of 300,000, which is a really interesting thing to see. And the main two amenities that we see as well, going along with Deerfield, is the waterfront and the pool amenities. Both of these houses that we see are like mansion styles. I'm gonna pull one up here and the other one here. All right, let's see how that looks. And I really, I do think Pompano has a great market, but it is gonna be harder to differentiate yourself. So Deerfield Beach, I think, is the market that we really like and just has a lot of value to be in, and also just long-term thinking. There's a third of the listings in Pompano Beach, so that means that you have much more growth in terms of if competition does get really fierce, you don't have as many issues. We shouldn't have as many issues.
Safe to say we both like it. Still underrated markets to be in. Thankfully, I mean, once this podcast blows up, don't know, but by then it'll be too late. We've taken over.
And then, what's the last market we want to be chatting about this evening?
Huh. Few to pick from, but I'd say let's dive into Gainesville. What do you think?
Yeah, yeah, nice. Switching it up, going away from South Florida.
We're going way
What we The value that we see in this market is, being a college town, having UF, it has that big college presence. Apart from that, is that the properties have an interesting, it's a very interesting market because as we were looking at it, we saw that 53.8% of the properties available on Airbnb and VRBO had a minimum night stay of 30 plus. So our where our thinking goes when we see that is either a big traveling nursing scene, something along the lines of that, or traveling professionals. We don't see Gainesville as a traveling professional place, so nursing is where our heads go. Uh, but with that being said, we do have some properties in Gainesville that we operate, um, and we run at a 1 to 2 day minimum, and we run to try to maximize weekend occupancy. But it's a very interesting thing to see because there is no regulation in place that says like, oh, if you're in a certain zoning, you need to have a 30 plus day, like we've seen in some other cities. Um, so what's your thoughts on that? That you know, more than 50% have that 30 plus day.
So the way I see that going is, they're doing the 30-day minimum. So what they're trying to do is buffer for that low season, because obviously you do super well during the high season, which is football season, which is from fall, which is August to December or January, whatever it is. So within the slow months, I think that Airbnb hosts or property owners are doing, they're going for that month to month to buffer in that slow season. That way, their expenses are covered. Maybe they're making a little bit of profit, not as much as they would in high season. And then, yeah, I really think that's what they're doing in Gainesville.
No, yeah, that would make sense with the occupancies that we're seeing in like May through July and things like that. That does make a lot of sense. Um, Overall, an interesting market to see. Uh, I went myself to Penn State, and my first experience of Airbnb short-term rental was renting out a spare room that we had because we had one of our we were three living in one spot, and one of the homies had to go back to Dubai. Peace out. He was gone, and we were like, oh, we still got to cover rent, so we were Airbnb-ing that extra space. Um, Come to find out, 5 6 years later, I ended up doing this as a business. But that was my first little idea of like, all right, as college town, it does get traffic. I was getting professors. I was getting students visiting students. We had a penitentiary nearby, so I actually got a couple of people visiting their penitentiary pals. So, interesting folks staying with us. So definitely a good market to be in college towns because we just see less regulation. It's easier to operate in. We do have, like Justin mentioned, the football, the the college events that will always, like graduation weekends and things like that. Those are great weekends to maximize revenue. And those kind of events, what's great is like they're annual. They always keep happening. They're not going to
Yeah.
change. They're going to keep happening there. So that's why we highlighted this market, and we are in this market as well. So we're currently operating there and looking for more partners. If anybody wants, I might name that. Not trying to lead to sales. Uh, all right. We hop it into the Q&A section. So we have some questions from our listeners and viewers, and mostly related to the South Florida market. But diving into that, um, Justin, what's your thoughts? You know how we have like hurricanes, tropical storms down in South Florida. What's your thoughts on how best to prepare a property, or how best a property owner slash property manager should work on hurricane preparedness and stuff like that?
So yeah, taking into account, Florida, hurricane season, terrible, high winds, lots of rain, the whole thing. So yeah, how to prepare yourself? One, get extra insurance, whether it's liability insurance, house insurance, etc. Protect your home. If you have any kind of things that'll fly away during the high winds, like little tables, pool toys, store them away. Make sure they're shut. Make sure everything's put away. protect the windows, shutters, hurricane shutters, tempered glass. Make sure everything is just, hurricane proof. I think that's
Yeah.
the best way to secure yourself for yourself in down in Florida. Oh, excuse me. Fucked up. Make sure the dock is secured, especially if you have bay view. But effectively, just make sure everything is secured. Make sure everything's good to go. Also, give yourself update on flooding zones. We go underwater here in South Florida. You've seen a lot of places in Broward County just completely submerged. Maybe about what I want to say 12, no, not 12, maybe 12 inches, a little more of water. Just make sure everything's
And that, just to add on is if like there is a true emergency happening and state of Florida is like, hey, we got an emergency situation. It's important to communicate that with the guests because the guests might not be local. They might not be getting those updates, and they might not know what's going on because they're just on a vacation. You know how it is. So it's good to share that info. If there's anything happening, if there's something happening, it's like, hey, it's better to cancel a guest stay than to have a guest come during a hurricane. It's like make sure the guest protection over revenue. Make sure the people are good. And that's just keeping update with the news and what's going on in the area.
Yeah.
But no, that's great protection. Good on the insurance and stuff. Love that.
I think being protected is most important. Staying to date, be in good standing and communication with the hosts. With the guests and the hosts. Back and back communication. But jumping into the next question, some of our viewers asked. Topic is seasonal trends. How can property owners optimize their rental income during peak and off-peak seasons? Michael, what do you think?
Yeah, so that's definitely something to see in the short-term rental market. As there's up and down months. You're not going to be making everything the same every month, just like in long-term rental. That if you're renting for 1,000, it's 1,000 every month, and you work off that. With short-term rentals, you might have a month of 4,000 and the next month of 8,000. So you have that variability in place that it really could create some uncertainty in some property owners. As operators, we don't have uncertainty because we know that we need to go off the yearly revenue if we want to make sure that we're looking at what's going on. If needed, you can break it up per quarter and look at it like every quarter and how that operates. But just know that there will be 1 or 2 quarters that are underperforming the other 2. But in the end, it's all about evening out and seeing what the average is, the average revenue, and also the average net to your pocket. And the main thing with Florida is seeing those top months of, managing January, February, and March, and then the low months being November and December. We've onboarded some clients in September, and they were very happy. And then they came into November and December. They were like, "What's going on?" Well, the reality was that we shared the reality with them, and we were like, "Hey, this is the revenue for these months. If you look into February and March, we already have some bookings in place. Those are gonna grossly outperform what we're currently having." And that's just something that the fluctuations of the short-term rental market. People that are in real estate, I feel like sometimes don't have that nuance. It's more of known in the hospitality hotel world, and I feel like the real estate world is a little different than the hospitality world. But that's a great question, and I feel like emotions should not be driving these conversations. It should be more analytically driven, based off the occupancy, based off the revenue that's being driven, based off the comps that we're seeing. We try to perform at top 20% in every market that we're in. So then when we're looking at comps, we're seeing how are they performing? Are we at that? If we're not, what can we do to be better? If we're at that, it's like, hey, this is where the market is. We can't make more than what the market makes.
Great. I agree with you on
that. And then just chatting about, managing properties and things like that. Any unique challenges that we've faced down there in South Florida as property owners and as property managers, or that you've heard of some property owners face?
Yeah, I can name a couple, and they're
Can't we all?
Yeah, they're consistent, and we kind of overcome them. Yeah, actually, we have overcome them. So one of them would be um, those guests that want to have a party at your property.
Oh,
This
and
is
that's a
why.
South Florida thing. Yeah, you get a 786, a 305, a 954 number, and you're like, what are you trying to do?
Yeah, you get one of those local people trying to book your property. Sometimes you think they're nice. You're like, okay,
Oh,
we'll give them
and
a
this,
chance.
let me add a little thing.
Yeah,
If you don't have it within your rules and within your policy that no local bookings can be done, you will incur a penalty if you cancel a local booking, which is crazy. As an owner, you're trying to take care of your property, you're trying, if you don't have a rule in place. So, tip to anybody out there, set the rule up and have it say no local bookings. And then with that, you can go ahead and file the complaint and not have any issues. But go
key
on,
tip.
sorry.
No, that's a key tip. I agree with you, and thank you for that. I think that's going to help a lot of viewers and new hosts coming because people have been fucked over with that, especially with
Yep.
the new policy and the new
Yeah.
cancellation policy. But yeah, that's one of the obstacles that we've overcome. So what we did was, and you can provide some insight on this too, Michael. We kind of, I don't, we put in the rules that they will incur a penalty or a fine. I don't want to say fee, but I want to say fine. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So it's kind of it's helped in a way, and I'm really grateful it has been because trying to tame a party or knowing people are having a party at your house and it just creates stress. So that's one of them. And then something else was
And that goes back
pool.
to our tech stack saying like, hey, how do we take care of properties and stuff? We have a whole tech stack that helps us, make sure that party prevention doesn't happen and we're not getting a call from the neighbor having issues with anything. Like we try to do everything we can before a party happens, but once in a while a get together slash party will happen and we work through it.
That's the thing. Working through it. Another obstacle we've come across, and this was more recent, was the pool timer. The pool freaking timer. South Florida, everyone loves a damn pool. It gets cold here sometimes. A little too cold for my preference. I like to leave it under the 70s. It's my
Yeah.
pool time. People, when it's cold, people like heated pool. Our pool timer wasn't working at one of the properties for a little bit. We were under the impression that it was. The app we use was telling me, yeah, the flow's on, and then we just kept getting constant complaints. One of the constant complaints, we're like, damn, what the hell's going on? Got a pool service guy out there. It was like, yeah, the timer's outdated. We're like, fuck, And those small little things can affect your reviews. And if you're not up
Yeah.
to date and you're not,
Yeah, because
you're not,
somebody's coming to a 32 with a heated pool and expecting to use that, they're gonna bitch if that heated pool is not heated. So definitely those little things can definitely, make or break that luxury South Florida experience. Yeah.
so yeah. Thankfully, we've overcome it. 5-star reviews recently.
Yeah.
We're doing good. But yeah, Michael,
You hear
I
that?
have a question. What do you think about this? How do property managers handle the high demand for short-term rentals during peak tourist seasons?
So I'm gonna start talking about low season. So what we do for low season is coming November, December, we try to get that booked out as far as in advance as we can. That means our occupancy is up, our revenue is stable on those low months. On those higher months, we'll increase the revenue, the ADR, as where we see fit. And as we get closer to the date, if we're not booked out, we will slowly decrease that until we hit a, let's call it a market equilibrium where we know we will get booked out as it's high season. But what we try to do for high season, being that it's high season, we try to maximize that revenue 3 to 4 months out with just having it higher and having a percentage drop every day, every 24 hours we have updates going on and having that drop. which allows us to make as much as we possibly can, while also on those low seasons having the occupancy sustained.
Yo, careful. Did you just give out our dynamic pricing strategy? Whoa, whoa, whoa. Retract,
I
retract.
just shared a little bit about high and low season.
Yeah,
There's more in the pot. There's more
take
being
notes.
mixed in there, but
Take notes. This is gold. This is gold.
it's good stuff. If somebody runs with that, that's how you got to run low and high season to maximize occupancy.